Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Don't Risk It podcast presented by VFIS Client Risk Solutions. This program focuses on the exposures our clients frequently encounter and discusses some potential solutions to help reduce these exposures. I'm your host, Chris Rogers with VFIS Client Risk Solutions, and today we're discussing blocking vehicles and attenuators in emergency response. Joining me on the program today is Dr. Hervy Kornegay, and Hervy is the Fire Chief of Belfast Volunteer Fire Department in Wayne County, North Carolina. Chief Kornegay is joining us today to discuss how his department deploys these types of vehicles and the thought process that went into developing this program. Hervy, I want to thank you for joining me today, and I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So, can you give the listeners a brief overview of your department and a little information about your response area?
We're a volunteer fire department in rural eastern North Carolina, located about an hour and a half from the coast. We serve a district of about 15 square miles with a population of about 6,000 people. We butt up to the city of Goldsboro, and in regards to this conversation, we have two interstates that run through our district.
So, speaking of interstates running through your district, we've talked about that this program is going to be covering attenuators. Why do you think that these vehicles have become a part of the emergency service response plan?
So we started talking about this when we got our first interstate highway through our district. It quickly became apparent that the highways were the most dangerous place for us to be. In fact, we feel like it's more dangerous than the structure fires we go to. Prior to this, we had a highway through our district with a speed limit of 55. When you push that up to the interstate, you now have a speed limit of 70, but most people are running 10 to 20 miles an hour over that. And the closing speeds of these vehicles on your scene is just puts you in a bad place as far as risk for injury and death.
Sounds like North Carolina is a little bit like Texas, where the speed limit it's a suggestion. It's not necessarily followed if people are running 20 miles an hour over. So what factors led your department to consider a blocking vehicle as part of your emergency fleet?
So, it's not hard to find an example of, a fire apparatus being struck on the highway. In fact, I think just yesterday we had a fire apparatus struck on the highway in Michigan. But we could have recorded this pretty much any time of the year and probably look back less than a week, and you could have found something in the news about a fire apparatus being struck on the highway. And so, we've looked at this over 5 or 6, 7 years. And my deputy chief, Blake Plummer, came up with this idea of, purchasing an attenuator truck last fall, and our board thought that was a good idea, and so that's kind of where this launched from. I think it it does two things. It hopefully protects our firemen, but I also think it protects the public. We don't talk about this part a lot, but a car running 75 or 80 miles an hour that strikes your fire truck. Hopefully, if they strike this attenuator, we have lives saved on that side as well.
Right. When we have the true blocking units, it's more protecting our personnel. But with the attenuator, it's protecting the personnel and the individual who unfortunately, struck that object.
Correct.
Did y'all have any firsthand experience or any events that led this to it, or is it more of the trend that you spoke about across the country that these things were happening more frequently? Now you have the two interstates going through your district, so now that more of a preemptive approach versus a reactive approach that where y'all had an incident.
So both. We've had several departments in our state that have had multiple units struck on multiple scenes in a short period of time. And then it seems like almost every event that we go to on the interstate, we have a close call, or we think that we might get hit. And then about 3 years ago, my personal vehicle actually got struck as I was on the shoulder of the road. A vehicle passed our engine at a high rate of speed, and then it was raining and slid into the rear corner of my vehicle. And so I think it was, the decision was based on what we see locally and nationally.
So to kind of follow up on the acquisition process, right now obtaining a fire apparatus, or it's a hard thing to do with the wait time. Can you describe the spec and purchase process? Was it easy, or was it did it have some
Sure.
of the same issues or difficulties that we're facing with getting apparatus?
And then that brings up another point. This truck, hopefully, if it does get struck, we can repair it in a more timely fashion. And if we don't, that's okay as well. But as lead times on fire apparatus are 24 to 36 months. And if you're a small department that runs two engines, being without an engine for 2 to 3 years, puts you in a little bit of a bind. So the purchasing process was pretty easy. Again, my deputy chief Blake called a department in Texas, spoke to them that had a truck similar to our truck, and they had a good experience. So we went through a company in Pennsylvania called JTech, and our delivery time was a little over 12 weeks.
Nice. There's a lot of people in the fire service that would love to hear that number based on what they're waiting on for an engine or an aerial.
So the truck itself, they already had on their lot, and primarily they're producing these blocker vehicles for construction companies that provide blocker service, or for state Department of Transportations. So they're producing these trucks every day, and it's not like ordering a fire truck where one department may want something more specific. So the process was very easy.
So can you kind of describe your truck? Is it a flatbed with a attenuator mounted on the back?
It is a 2025 Ford F650 flatbed truck. It has a concrete poured into the bed as a ballast, and then it has an attenuator on the back and a digital signboard that elevates.
Nice. So did you all have to consult with local law enforcement or Department of Transportation or any other entity to get this ball rolling?
We did not.
So how has the implementation of this vehicle been accepted by the members of the staff?
So far, I think really good. I think everyone understands the dangers of being on the interstate. Had a lot of interest from outside departments as well. Probably the first month, I probably got about 3 phone calls a week from departments, mostly out of county, interested in the process, and some wanted to come look at it. So we think it's going to be a very good tool for us in our county.
Did you have to modify the staffing for when the call goes out, because they're not always going to run to the attenuator vehicle? It's obviously call dependent. So how do y'all work that out to where this individual needs to get that rig to the scene? How are the logistics of that handled?
So our first out unit on motor vehicle crash is a wet rescue. So that's helpful because we don't have to roll a rescue in an engine. So we basically are sending this second after our rescue on all our calls on the highway.
Oh, so it's part of the normal dispatch process. You're just taking a different vehicle.
Correct.
So what other policies and procedures have changed or implemented with this vehicle or because of this new hazard?
So that's primarily the real only protocol changes, the order that we respond to our vehicles. We are in the process of retaking the TIMS class and have an instructor that's going to incorporate the use of this truck into that class. And that's about it.
Is it strictly, and I preface this by saying that you mentioned that you've only had it a few months, but are there specific incidents? Is it just roadway incidents, or have y'all carved out another niche where you found that this could be a beneficial piece of equipment?
So it's just roadway events, but we have carved out some other uses for it, for disaster response, for example, for trees down and things like that. We plan to use this truck. It's heavy. It's not, it's our least expensive vehicle in our fleet. So we're going to hopefully use it in the future for disaster response and for those kind of events.
With this being a second out unit, what type of response are they doing? Are they going normal traffic, or is it lights and sirens?
So we made a decision that it would respond emergency traffic, and I just based that on our priorities of our fire scene. First is life safety, and second is incident stabilization. And I feel that this truck is important for incident stabilization and protecting, again, not not our people, but the public as well.
So earlier in our conversation, you mentioned that there was some interest from outside entities when you all made this purchase. Do you have any advice for our listeners or customers that may be thinking about adding this type of vehicle to their fleet?
I don't have any advice. It's a really easy process. The company that we used, went really well. There are not a lot of options available, which makes the purchasing process a lot easier, to be honest with you. You can, you can add cabinets to the bed. There's a camera system that we elected to purchase with the vehicle that records 360 degrees. But the purchasing process is quite easy.
I mean, I guess the cost savings is probably one of the biggest drivers, because it is if it's not hit hard enough, it is a repairable piece of equipment. And I'm guessing it might be a six-figure piece of equipment, but it's probably not a six-figure piece of equipment as much as an engine or something larger cost.
We've been told that the attenuator, they keep most of those parts in house, and that we would be able to repair that or get that back in service in a very short period of time. And it being a commercial Ford truck, we hope that we look at this as a 20+ year investment. And I know some people are converting their engines, putting an attenuator on their engine, and that's certainly an option for some departments. We felt like over 20 years, the maintenance of a commercial truck versus the maintenance of a 25-year-old custom cab fire truck would provide a savings as well.
And you have a purpose-built piece of equipment that wasn't modified, and that this was what it was designed to be used to do. Well, Chief, I want to thank you for your time today. It was a pleasure having you on the program and providing all this great information. I think this is something that we're going to be seeing deployed by a lot of other departments as we go forward, because this issue doesn't seem to be going away. So I thank you for your time and all your information.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And I want to thank you for listening to the program and for your interest in VFIS safety resources. I want to thank our guest, Dr. Hervy Kornegay, once again for his time and information. Please consider subscribing to our program to stay up to date on new content releases. Also, if you like what you've heard, please consider leaving a review below. For more information about the many resources available from VFIS, please visit VFIS.com. And to submit ideas for future discussions, please reach out by email at VFISriskcontrol@VFIS.com. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day. The views, information, or opinions expressed during this program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Gladfelter Insurance Group, VFIS, and its employees.